What the fetch is up, builder, and welcome to the next episode of the High Performance Habits. Our high performance habit today is generate energy. And I have really learned a lot about this one in just this week, actually. So I'm excited to get to number 4 here with you. So, generating energy. We went over clarity, seeking clarity, and that really is the foundation for a lot of the things that we do, is seeking clarity. Building specificity on how we're going to tackle the problems that are before us. So building specificity on how we generate energy is going to help us generate more energy. And I'll say that this one is incredibly important, and has been incredibly important for me in my life, because I have realized that I cannot live up to my best self if I have not optimized my life to generate energy. So generate energy is also an interesting way to say it, because it's basically saying that we don't have energy, we summon it, we create it. One of the phrases that Brendon Burchard will commonly use is, the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy. And so we are each emotional, physical power plants. We can summon the energy just as we summon the joy, bring the joy into our relationships. And so with me, my 3 words being fearless, loving, and joyful, I realized just this past week actually that I could not do that. I literally could not do that unless my health was optimized. My physical health, my workouts, my nutrition, my sleep. So I needed to optimize my physical and mental health in order to ensure that I show up fearless, loving, and joyful. It's a necessity for me, which is going to be the next high performance habit, but I loved that. I loved drawing that connection. I don't know why it took me 27 years to draw the connection, but here we are. I finally did it. Thank you, God, for helping me make that connection in my life. I'm grateful. So, generate energy. This is the second high performance habit, and as I just said, it's incredibly important. We cannot do all of the things that we're going to need to do as high performers, as builders of our dreams, without optimizing the energy in our life. So, we're going to go through these 4 different things. I'm going to move this vase because it's in my way. I found that there are 4 ways to generate energy, and we're just going to hit all 4 of them really quick. The first 3, probably going to be incredibly obvious to you. The last one, perhaps not so obvious. So, let's get to work, builders. Alright, so our first one is rest. Now, rest can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be mental, but we need to take the time every day, every week, to rest, to recharge. It's an intentional period in which we recharge from some low, right? Our body has this built-in need to sleep. And that's super nice because it forces us to sleep. At the end of some point of time, your body will inevitably go to sleep. It will force itself to rest so that it can recover from being awake. We need to build in habits into our life that do this for our mind, that do this for our emotions. We need to have times of rest so that we can intentionally set out and generate energy during times of duress, when we're under pressure. If we don't have those times of rest, we're going to inevitably collapse under the pressure and run out of energy. That's how it is to be human. We cannot run at 110%, 24/7, and expect to always maintain the highest levels of output, especially from an energy perspective. So we need to rest our minds, and our bodies. So that's number one. Number two is we need to exercise. Now again, this could be physical or mental. I would say we need both. We need times where we're exercising both our mental character, our physical body. We need to build in and flex. We need to flex our muscles, both mentally and physically. We need to push them to strain so that we can build them up, make them stronger. That's how we consistently grow. Now, reading a book is a great example of mental exercise. We can't just doom scroll on social media. That doesn't help us. I would argue that creates so many neurons that are firing in so many incorrect ways, and it reinforces the wrong feedback loops that really weaken your mind. So we need to have intentional periods of time in which we are exercising both our mind and our body so that we can generate energy throughout the day, throughout the week, for the month, for the year. When we're at home, when we're at the soccer game, when we're doing these different things, when we're in these different environments, we need to be ready. We need to have exercised our body and our mind to actually tackle and bring energy and generate energy in that circumstance. So the third way is nutrition. We need to feed. We need to feed our mind and our body. Now, I said that reading a book is a great example of exercise. I believe I misspoke. I would say that a great example of mental exercise, mental gymnastics, is just thinking through problems and solving them and tackling that intentionally. So we have periods of rest, we have periods of exercise, and then we have periods of, hey, we're learning. We're feeding the mind new ideas that it can use to exercise more, that it can use to rest more effectively. So we need to have these periods of consistent nutrition, both for our mind and our body. I'd say to generate energy, we need to really focus on the body and then focus on the mind on top of that. And it'll create a positive feedback loop. The more you take care of your body, feed your body, the more capable your mind will be to absorb new information, to exercise and tackle problems, to actually rest. If the only thing you've eaten in the past week is pizza, your brain, which is part of your body, is not going to be able to function at its fullest capacity. It won't be able to exercise, flex, tackle the problem. It won't be able to read, absorb new information. And it won't be able to rest as well as it could if you had eaten whole foods, proper meals throughout the week. So these are pretty much the foundational three that a lot of people think of when you think of just physical vibrancy and health. Yes, I need to sleep. Yes, I need to feed my body. Yes, I need to exercise. I know those things. I'll repeat them because common knowledge is not always common practice. We know the things we need to do, we don't do them. Which is where our fourth step comes into play. So it's likely that I'll write clarity on pretty much all of the high performance habits, just because clarity really does help you know how to do them. And in the case of generating energy, this is actually incredibly useful. And the best example I can think of is obsession. When you're obsessed with something, you generally have an infinite amount of energy. When you're playing a video game, for those of you who do, have you ever been able to just sit down and play a video game for 14 hours straight? I know I have. I know that I have been able to sit down and program a video game for more than 14 hours straight, for 24 hours straight, for 30 hours straight. I know that when I proposed to my wife and I built the video game to propose to my wife with, I programmed that game I think I woke up at like 8 a.m. and I didn't stop working on it until 6 p.m. the next day. So I was obsessed, I was driven, I was very clear on the thing that needed to happen and when it needed to happen by. And I didn't sleep, I didn't exercise, nutrition was pretty bad, but I had some fetching clarity on what I was trying to do. And that brought me energy. I had an infinite amount of energy during those, would that be like 36 to 40 hours of effort. So, clarity, having clarity of self, of who you are, who you want to be, is energizing. Because when you remove confusion, when you get rid of all these barriers and blocks, especially in the mind, and you allow the energy to flow towards, here's my goal, here's what I'm doing, here are the things that I will accomplish, that I'll tackle, that I will crush, that brings energy. So if you add to it these three things, you're unstoppable, you're inevitable. Now the next level, the thing that I realized this week, is that I need to tie these three things into my vision of self. If I want to be fearless, loving, and joyful, I will need, without a doubt, I will need to bring all of my energy to bear in the different situations and circumstances of my life. Which means that the rest is non-negotiable. Exercise, non-negotiable. I must exercise. I must exercise and optimize my physical health so that I can summon the energy every time I need it in the different circumstances of my life. So when I tie these first three things into my highest self, into the vision of my best self, these three things become non-negotiable and I have to do them. That's what I realized this week. I don't know why it took me 27 years to figure that out, but here we are. It took me 27 years to figure that out. To get it through my brain. And I was talking with my wife about it. She's like, yeah, I already knew that. And I was like, great. Thanks, honey. It was an epiphany for me. So, rest, exercise, nutrition, and clarity. These are the four things I found that either optimize your life so you can generate energy, or just immediately bring it in the case of clarity. So builder, how are you going to start generating more energy today? Because you can. The clarity, the great part about clarity is you just make that immediate change. You just say, this is how I'm going to be, this is how I'm going to show up. Fearless, loving, and joyful for me was incredibly energizing. What are you going to obsess over? Because your obsessions, your fixations, right? They drive you. They bring energy. They help you bring energy. So if you tie these rest, exercise, nutrition into that and build it as a foundation, again, you become inevitable.